With sentence completions, you want to avoid looking at the answer choices until you've come up with your own word for the blank in question. Sometimes it's easier said than done, especially during the middle of an exam with all the time pressure and all the stress you might be under. Don't worry about coming up with the perfect word. If you can come up with a term, maybe even an idea, or sometimes just whether or not the word is positive or negative, that is enough to get you past the hump of just relying on the answer choices, which, as I mentioned before, can be very biased. Let's look at an example. Although Rick expected a new car, his father blanked him for his bad grades instead. Let's just go through the process. We avoid looking at the answer choices and instead we focus on the question. What's this question telling us? What's this sentence all about? Well, we're talking about Rick. He expected a new car. However, his father something him for his bad grades instead. Bad grades instead. So we've got a couple things going on here. Is Rick going to get the car? Is his dad going to do something? Well, this word right here, although, is a directional cue. It is right next to Rick's expectation of a new car. So even though this sentence starts off going well for Rick in terms of his expectation of a new car, this although tells us that the direction of the sentence is going to change, and it changes right after this comma. Bad grades instead. Although it's called a directional cue, we know the sentence is going to change directions. We know it's not going to end up looking very well for Rick. We're under time pressure. We're looking at the question. We want to avoid being biased by the answer choices. So we know that this blank is going to be negative because of the although and because of the bad grades instead. So now we compare the answer choices to just the concept of being negative. Now again, remember, it's always best to come up with your own word, but if you're under time pressure, you can use the clues in the sentence to determine whether the blank is positive or negative. We know it's going to be negative. Let's go through the answer choices quickly. Thwarted, is that positive or negative? Who knows? You know, if you know what thwarted means, great. If you don't, you leave it alone. But this is where the sort of know category comes in handy, because maybe you sort of know that thwarted isn't such a great thing. So if you know that thwarted is negative, negative, and negative, those match up, which means you don't cross off thwarted, you move forward. Castigated, have no idea what it means, you got to leave it alone. Cavorted, cavorted, if you know what it means, you say to yourself, well, is cavorted a good thing or a bad thing? Well, cavorted means to be jolly, to frolic. We know it's a positive thing. So if it's a positive thing, we're looking for a negative, we cross off answer choice C. Commended. Commended is a positive thing. We know we are looking for a negative, so again, answer choice D is gone. Accentuated. Accentuated is a little bit tricky. It can be used in a positive or a negative context. Generally, it means to increase something. That tends to be positive. In this situation, I would cross off accentuated as well. Now we're 1 out of 2 answer choices. Thwarted, we know, is negative. Castigated, we're not sure. Your guess is as good as mine, but the point is we've crossed off 3 answer choices. We know we can take a guess, and we did so by using positive or negative as well as the directional cues, both drills on the Prep Interactive application, and in this case the correct answer choice is B, castigated. Although Rick expected a new car, his father castigated him for his bad grades instead. Again, although and Rick's expectation along with the bad grades instead are what tells us what the answer choice is.